Welcome to the Everyone's a Critic movie review podcast. I am hosting this week without Bob. Joining me for this episode is cousin Jeff. Jeff, thank you.
What's up?
And Zach, how are you?
Oh, not too bad, buddy. Ready to talk some movies.
Awesome. All right, we're going to just jump right into this because this is why everybody is here. It's Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever, directed by Ryan Coogler and starring Letitia Wright, along with Angela Bassett, and of course, a tribute to Chadwick Boseman. This movie begins on a very jarring note with essentially T'Challa's death. And the way I saw it without any trailers, because I was at a critic screening, and it was so jarring. I wasn't sure the movie had started properly. I thought maybe somebody had mixed up the reels or something. It was very jarring the way they jumped into this. Was it the same way for you, Jeff?
Well, I mean, I knew that they had to do basically what they were going to do, and I guess they could have deep faked Chadwick Boseman into the beginning of it, but I think that based on how he died in real life, that would have been just really too much. I thought that, I mean, everybody knows, almost everybody who's going to go see this movie knows that he is dead in real life, and that he would have to be dead in the movie as well. So sorry.
Was it jarring for you right at the start there?
Oh yeah, especially like that they pretty much mirrored his actual death, and that was I wasn't kind of expecting that. I mean, there were all these rumors and speculation on how they were going to kill him off, and I kind of pictured that they were going to have him in like some like kind of generic ass battle in the beginning, and just have like show the suit, and then like in my mind, for whatever reason, it was like that scene from like War of the Worlds where the kid runs over the hill and the hill explodes. Like I was kind of expecting them to do something like that, but this was way better. And I thought, like, I mean, it sucked. Like it was emotionally like it hurt to watch, but I feel like doing it that way was more respectful and actually kind of, I don't know, brought us in on a somber note and kind of pretty much just kept us there for a long fucking time.
It continues from there into a silent opening, no Marvel music, none of the fanfare that we're used to. And I thought that was another very emotional choice. They also go with just nonstop pictures of Chadwick Boseman, which again, it's a lovely tribute. And the first portion of the movie is all about laying the groundwork of paying tribute to him, but also trying to build towards a story that's going to be a Marvel Universe story, an adventure story. And what impressed me most was that Letitia Wright really stepped into that. I had a bad feeling about her coming into this, mostly just from this onset rumors about her not necessarily being the most cooperative person to work with. But she really turned it around in this movie. I was really impressed by her performance. I was impressed by where they took that character, the exploration of grief and revenge and heartache, the way she goes through all that, but then also is still up for adventure. That really impressed me. And but especially I was impressed by Angela Bassett, who I think is honestly Oscar worthy, just as Queen Ramonda. She's so dignified and regal and gorgeous, but also just so powerful. There's a scene with her in front of the United Nations where she's talking about how people believe that Wakanda cannot protect itself anymore without the Black Panther, and she's awesome in that moment. What do you think, Jeff?
Well, I guess we should preface that this is going to be spoilery, but I honestly thought for a minute that any of the characters could have stepped up and been Black Panther. She was phenomenal as always. I don't think Angela Bassett can really do anything wrong at this point. I was disappointed that we will not see her in future Black Panther movies. I think she really, she was kind of the heart of the movie. I think Letitia Wright is a fine actress, and I think that she's fully capable, but she needs something that grounds her. And I don't know if that, like Okoye or Nakia will be that in future movies. I think that she always needs a conscience because she didn't have one after Queen Ramonda died.
Yeah.
She was ready for vengeance and all that, but she didn't have that grounding force keeping her. So
I felt that M'Baku was stepping into that, though.
A little bit, yeah, but he's never going to be her mother or her brother or her father, or what Wakanda is all about. It was family, and I guess
he's an outsider too. That's a good point.
He's still an outsider. I think the closest thing that she has to family, I mean, aside from now the mid-credits scene, was Okoye, maybe Nakia, but she'd been so estranged from Nakia for 5-6 years that here she is, just still rudderless until the very, very end of the movie.
Oh, God, Angela Bassett, man, holy shit! Like between like all the scenes with her just throwing the hammer down, and then like the other like in between scenes where she's just kind of taking off her headpiece and letting her hair down, and God damn it, she just like she had my full attention every single time. And this is a long movie. This is pretty bloated. I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of like kind of parts where I felt like they could have cut down. Not any of them were scenes with Angela Bassett. Holy shit. She was great. Letitia Wright, right there with you guys. I fully didn't expect anything out of her. I liked her in the first movie, and then COVID happened and all that stuff on Twitter started coming out. Yeah. And I was a little worried with them talking about not recasting T'Challa, and being a comic book nerd, I'm like, shit, they're going Shuri. Here we go. But she won me over. I loved it. I loved her bonding with like Ironheart and like all the others, like side characters. So they're building the bridges for later and all that. But oh my God, dude, the acting in this movie was unreal. Like unreal. Like Coogler brings out the best of these people, and I adored the hell out of it.
I love the balance that he struck between paying tribute to Chadwick Boseman and the sadness and the grief that's involved in every character in the movie, but also the adventure, because I thought the action in this movie was pretty spectacular.
Oh yeah. I mean, a lot of the action sequences are stuff that we've seen before, like the boat scene with the people, everyone on the rope swings and shit. Like we've seen that a million times, but I didn't care. I loved it. Like the clash between them and like the Tolokans, that what they are. They're Atlantean in the comics, so it's kind of it's hard for me to transition that. Not in a bad way. I'm not that guy, but it's I liked how scary they made the people in the water seem, especially like that opening scene where we're introduced to them when they're like doing the whole siren thing. Oh, it was just beautiful.
Yeah, Jeff, you want to talk about that?
Well, first of all, I need to address the nipple situation with Tenek, where the Mejia. Every time he was on screen, I just was fixated on his nipples. So I'm just going to put that out there.
And they look tasty.
I thought that I like what they did with Namor. I think that they had to, he goes back so far, and they just had, there's so much history with him that they had to kind of ground it in something. And I think that because of what Wakanda kind of represents, that, it had to be set up the way it was. And I think that they did a phenomenal job. The siren call at the beginning was great, even though for a minute, the ship, I was getting vibes from Winter Soldier. Mm-hmm. And I think I liked what they did that, because it was, that kind of just out of camera range, somebody's going to get you. I liked that how they honored the cultural differences between Wakanda and Tanaka. I
called him Atlantis. I didn't know any better.
I mean, yes. Yeah. I liked that they had strong cultures in both sides, and it wasn't whitewashed at all. I think that opening scene with Lake Bell and the guy from Law and Order SVU, I can't remember his name, but I thought, they would be kind of the catalyst throughout the movie to kind of bring those two together and to have them killed off right at the beginning. I was like, oh, holy shit. Okay. Well, not what I thought, especially with actors like that you recognize.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really love the setup of it. What's that?
An old horror movie trick.
Yes, exactly.
I was like, as soon
Casey Becker.
Go ahead, Zach.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, as soon as I saw Lake Bell, I turned to like my buddy I was watching. I was like, "Oh shit, I didn't know she was in this." And then she was dead like a minute later. I was like, "God damn it!"
Yeah, I love Lake Bell, and I was a little disappointed to see her go out so quickly in this movie. But it also sets aside the idea that they're going to be relying on anybody with much name value. Not that she has a great deal of name value; she does among us, I guess. But it's interesting that when it comes to star power, there isn't somebody here who does step forward as a real superstar. That's not a knock. I think it makes it feel like much more of an ensemble. But in terms of star power, I didn't feel like anybody was stepping in and taking over.
Yeah. And I mean, the fact that they killed their biggest star halfway through the movie, I think that says all bets are off.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
And it also provides an opportunity then it gives more weight to Letitia Wright really having to step into that moment and step up to that moment. And I thought she really did. And the moment when we finally get to see her in the Black Panther costume, I thought was awesome. She looked fantastic. She looked physical. She looked imposing. They did a great job of giving her the kind of strength that you could buy into as a superhero. That they bringing back all that they have to do to become Black Panther also helps, and her technological stuff that she's got behind her too also helps. Just that all of that was just great world building.
Yeah, and oh god, her suit, man, like the gold accents on it, it just looks so badass. Like she looks dope.
I would have liked to have seen her have to, compete like Chadwick did in the first one. But I realize that we've been there. We've done that a couple times in the first movie. But it would have just been kind of cool to see her challenged. And that would, then she would have to actually pull through and do it. Not that it was preordained or anything. Because I think I kind of got the impression before I saw the movie that, oh, well, she was this in the comics, so she's just going to be this in the movie. Mm-hmm. And that's why, there wasn't any big surprise, especially when I saw the last trailer and there was obviously a woman in the Black Panther suit. And one of my friends was like, oh, could that be Okoye? And I was like, no, it's definitely Shuri because that's what it is in the comics. Had there been some sort of, because when Okoye was put out by Ramonda, maybe she could have challenged for the Black Panther, and said, I'm still worthy. She's my favorite character in the Wakandaverse. Yeah. Just because Denai Guerra, a fellow Iowan, she's amazing. But I would have liked to have seen that where she's like, you know what? No, screw you. I'm going to do this. And because of her feelings for T'Challa and her feelings towards Wakanda, I think she would have been a fine. That I know that's not the story they're telling. They're telling the story of Shuri having to step up and be Shuri, and be the Black Panther and do all the things that she's destined to do. I think that Okoye would have been a fine one, but that's just a little bias on my part.
And Lupita Nyong'o, probably the biggest star remaining in terms of name value, in terms of somebody who's actually been an Oscar nominee. I thought maybe also she might have a claim in there, but they used her extraordinarily well in how they used her, and I wouldn't change a thing about that. The one thing that didn't work for me was the whole Ironheart thing. I don't understand the character. I get the purpose of the character, but it seems a little bit rote and convenient in some ways that this character exists as she does, and I just didn't buy into much of it. I don't think there was enough development there.
She should have been. Really? She should have been a character with Tony Stark. She should have been introduced when he was still alive, so that would have made a little more sense.
Yeah.
Instead of oh, I'm going to go to Wakanda and build an Iron Man suit. So,
Yeah, Zach, what do you think?
I mean, I agree with Jeff on that. Like they should have probably brought her.
Did we lose Zach?
Sooner, because actually, like
Zach, I think you're freezing up. I think we're losing you.
yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Shit. Here we go. Okay, so good old CenturyLink. No, so basically what I was saying was I do agree with Jeff on that. Like they should have probably brought her in sooner, especially like in Endgame. They kind of seemed like they were gonna bring in that one kid from Iron Man 3 and have him be the protege, and then all of a sudden they're like, they announced the Ironheart show, they announced that she's in Blackheart and shit like that, and it's like cool because like in the comics, kind of like her whole thing is like she's like, you know, super fan. Iron Man's dead at the time. She partners up with this like AI construct of him, and he's kind of like her mentor. But I liked how they brought her in. It felt a little shoehorned. They had to come up with some bullshit excuse to bring her in. But like me being a big old comic book dork, I do love me some Riri Williams. I was pretty happy with that. I thought I had fun with her. Her final costume at first, I was like, oh, that looks dope. And then I kept seeing it, and I was like, that looks like a Power Rangers thing. That looks pretty weird.
It had serious Gundam energy for me.
Yes.
Yeah. My problem with Riri Williams in this, it has nothing. I love her. I love the character. You know, I think she's going to be great. Is that the Marvel universe is so big now that we have to constantly look for a spot to introduce these characters.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense that she would be, you know, part of the Wakandaverse, I guess, the way Marvel is introducing things. I think that one of the things for me was, yeah, she's going to be in all these TV shows and there's, you know, all this stuff, but she almost felt shoehorned in. Like she was just there to be introduced. She didn't really do enough in this movie to be included in the movie. I think she would have been a great end credit scene.
Yeah.
I don't think that we necessarily, if we're going to do a TV show for, you know, some secondary characters, just introduce them like you did with She-Hulk, or which was bonkers, by the way. But you know, just introduce her. Just say, "Hey, I'm Riri Williams," and you know, they did the same thing for Miss Marvel,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was a great show. I thought it was like, you know, when you're watching a movie and there's a character who's just doesn't need to be there, just slightly doesn't need to be there, but adds a little bit. I think that's how I felt about Riri Williams. I loved seeing the character,
yeah,
because I think it's a great character. I just was, you know, I was like, I don't know that she belongs in this right now.
Well, so I think the plot fails her too. The idea that Namor decides that he's got to kill her and doesn't really have enough motivation for me. I think it made him seem more unreasonable, and he was forced to be more unreasonable in that situation than was backed up by anything I saw in the plot. But it didn't hurt the movie for me, just because the rest of it is so strong, and especially because I think Letitia Wright is so very strong in this. She carries the whole thing for me. Let's get on to the post-credit scene. I thought it was good. I think people are a lot more shocked about it than I was. I thought it was kind of seemed a little bit obvious to me in a way, but I wasn't blown away by it the way a lot of people were. What did you think, Zach?
Oh, I called it the moment they said that like Nakia hadn't been there for 6 years. I literally looked over at our buddy Tim, and I'm like, I guarantee you by the end of the movie, she's walking up with a 6-year-old. Now, them naming him T'Challa, that was cool, because I was like, cool, that way that's their way of, they didn't recast, but they can eventually, you know, 10 years down the road or through some timey-wimey variant bullshit, they can bring in like T'Challa and do some T'Challa stories later. I like I said, I was kind of expecting a different mid-credit scene because, like, full disclosure, this whole movie had spoiled for me about 4 months ago. This guy at work read some like super in-depth leak and went on a very long rant to me, and I was pissed. like this was like before Doctor Strange. Like, this is a while ago. I got told this.
That guy's
and the
a dick.
mid-credits. Yeah, 100%. 100%. I'm glad he got moved to a different shift because I got to watch all of She-Hulk without having anything spoiled, and I love that. The mid-credit scene I was told about was apparently a little cameo from a little Doctor Doom, and I was pretty excited about that because I like literally once I realized about 2/3 of the way in, I'm like, shit, I know this entire like I guess I won't fully spoil it, but when big cameo happens in the ancestral plane, I immediately was like, fuck, I know this entire movie. But oh fuck, I know this entire movie. I was like, Doctor Doom, but it didn't happen.
What do you think, Jeff?
So we got a kid.
I went in as spoiler free as possible. I did watch the trailers. Like I said, I was pretty sure that it was going to be Shuri as the Black Panther. I did not. I just didn't see this coming. I didn't see a child, just based on the story that we'd been told so far in the movie, that this was Shuri and she had to come to grips with his passing and her mother's passing and all that. She was going to be the main Black Panther from now on. But I think now the next Black Panther movie, they'll probably do a time jump or something. They'll have to do something and bring T'Challa back. I don't know. I kind of go into Marvel movies now not wanting to know and not really caring what they do as long as they do it well. So to me, that mid-credit scene was kind of unnecessary. It got me in the feels a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I was just like, okay, I thought that was where she kind of came into her own as an actor, as opposed to, all the like, I am going to kill you. No, we have to work together. That whole stuff was like, okay, that was pretty predictable. But watching her mourn, I felt, okay, she's kind of come full circle from just like, what are those, to I am a truly developed character. So,
in terms of the continuity, did this fit with the rest of everything we know about these characters? Like, where does the whole Thanos snap thing come in with T'Challa? I guess that doesn't really matter, or did nobody seem to mention that? It seems like that
they did mention it.
Have overcome already.
They did mention it when she goes and talks to Nakia, and she's like, when Thanos snapped everybody away, you just left.
Yeah.
And Nakia said, well, I couldn't deal with him not being there anymore. And then when he was truly gone, there was no way I could do that. So they did bring it up. Mm-hmm. So you realize that this is 6 years after Endgame, and that he was only back for a year. When he came back during Endgame, he was only there for a year. So this takes place a year after Endgame, from what I understood.
Yeah, and that's like the first time we've gotten like actual concrete placement in the timeline post Endgame, because everything's been real weird. Like no one's referenced the whole Eternals like celestial popping out of the water. Like there was the whole like Statue of Liberty thing that seemed to like they were kind of talking about it in Hawkeye, and then all of a sudden it was a thing in like Spider-Man. So like the whole timeline's been weird. Like we just know pretty much everything we've seen has taken place after the snap. So like this is the first time they've actually established like an actual timeline, which is interesting.
And man, does that remind me that they hate Eternals? Disney hates Eternals because they don't reference it at all. Yeah. Are we,
I do gotta say, we went back and rewatched that for like literally the second time last weekend. It's not as bad as I remember. Like honestly, like I'm not like gonna put it on a pedestal or anything. I'm not gonna like cherish it, but going back to it, it was a lot better than I remembered. It's slower. It's not as exciting, but
Well,
I also want to know what the fuck they're going to do with that.
do they? But my thing is, do they have to do anything? Can it be just a kind of a standalone peripheral movie that
That's
they
fine.
have other stuff to do? I'm fine with that. I want to see another one because I like everybody in the cast. I thought that they all did really well. I mean, I was a little kind of like, oh god, Harry Styles and Star Fox.
Oh
But
man, we Harry Styles fans in this house.
he's fine. He's fine. He's just not great.
No, I'm not defending him. I'm just
Don't worry, darling. Show that he has about the range of early Letitia Wright.
He could get better. And in fairness, I haven't seen My Policeman. I don't know if he's good in that or not. So in all fairness to him. So I loved Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I honestly really did enjoy it. It's not as good as the first one, obviously, but I think it's the best movie they could have made based on the circumstances.
Yeah, I did feel the need to tell people going in, just because everyone's so negative and like cranky about shit, especially Marvel movies lately. And, especially everyone's kind of been on edge this past week because, election. I did feel the need to warn people going in like, hey, this movie's excellent, but go in with tempered expectations. It's not the first one. This isn't a Ryan Coogler movie. This is an MCU movie done by Ryan Coogler. And that's like probably my only gripe. I didn't have like I don't know. It wasn't, maybe it just missed the soundtrack that the first one had because the soundtrack was so like curated and so just like perfect. Mm-hmm. But that was like the only little gripe is that I felt like I had to tell people to go in with slightly tempered expectations because god damn it, I'm sick and tired of hearing people complain to me about Marvel movies and Marvel TV shows and all this bullshit. It is pretty much my existence now. As people go, oh, Mr. Comic Book Boy, what the fuck are they doing in She-Hulk? They hate men, shit like that. Like,
oh my god,
I know. I'm sick and tired of it too. These people, it's bullshit to sell toys, guys.
It's like everybody thinks that just because they're, like, oh, it has an agenda. No, it's just telling a story. There are millions and millions and millions of stories. There's as many stories out there as there are people. Just enjoy it. Close your eyes and think of England.
Yeah. Don't want to get mad over something. They're just getting mad at bullshit, man. Just enjoy it. It's stupid people wearing costumes fighting people in the same costumes, just a different color. Fucking who cares?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not looking for high art in Marvel. I'm not looking for high art in Star Wars, although I think Andor is approaching that. I'm looking at, am I entertained? I had a really good time. It was such a much better theater experience than Halloween Ends for me, which I walked out in the middle of, not because of the movie, but because of the people in the theater. I was glad to see that they were showing it in so many theaters that you could have had your I brought my kids and I'm not paying attention to them screening, but everybody was really into the movie this time, and that's all I want from a Marvel movie. I don't want, I don't need Shakespeare in. I don't need. I guess we had Shakespeare in Thor in a way, but we don't need it, like forsooth and all that in a Marvel movie. We just need, are we gonna like have fun? And that, that like the Thor movies, I think those, let's have fun with those. This is a stupid, dumb blonde Norse god kind of thing, and he's kind of an idiot, but he's funny. Let's do that.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to talk about, while we're talking about Marvel movies in general, we've had, like, there was a whole discussion about Letitia Wright and, oh, she's anti-vax or she's showing up on set and causing turmoil or whatever. let's hold that same energy for people like, you know, like Chris Pratt, and next time the Guardians of the Galaxy movie comes out, you know, let's. It just seems that sometimes our outrage at certain things that people do. I mean, they're just people. They're just actors, and they're entertaining us. And I tried to go in with that energy watching this movie. And I think that energy helped me, as opposed to being like, oh, I can't fucking stand her because she, you know, she did this or that. Then that's what I'm trying to go into it with.
Yeah.
And I think we have to keep.
I was extraordinarily skeptical on top of having just, you know, all that stuff going in, and I was just very skeptical. And she's so good. I was won over right away by just her range and emotionality, and that like that jarring opening sequence. She holds it so hard in that scene because it's such a great Shuri from the first movie scene that seemed exactly like the character. I remember exactly how she would react, exactly where she would be in that moment, what she would be trying to do. Really puts you right into the thing, and then she just carries it forward from there. I was really impressed. All right. Any other thoughts on Black Panther: Wakanda Forever?
I mean, I do kind of want to give props to the costuming. Like the costuming, like I know I kind of mentioned something a little earlier, but like every single character was just straight dripping. Every single goddamn character just looked amazing. Like that is one thing they've made Wakanda look awesome, like awesome as fuck. And
I want Ruth Carter to do the rest of the Marvel movies. I want her to do everything.
Yes,
she's so good.
Yes. Oh my god, it was great. Like I'm very excited for that Wakanda Disney Plus show now. Like I can't wait. Like I want more of it. Like I want them to, like, I want a section in Disney World now.
Wakanda Disney.
Yeah, Wakanda. Well, they have Wakanda, Illinois.
Like I'm obsessed.
Wakanda, Illinois is like,
well, there we
Wakanda
go.
forever. I think that
Wakanda forever.
I haven't been so impressed with costuming in a movie since Trisha Biggar with the Star Wars prequels, where every costume told a story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then I think that's how good she did for this. Like that's how good she did for this entire franchise.
I'm definitely nominating her when it comes to the Critics' Choice Awards. We've got a awards opportunity there, and obviously she'll be in the Academy Award conversation as well, I think.
Was she nominated for the first one? I don't remember.
I don't remember if she was nominated for the first one or not, but that movie did get a few nominations. I imagine it must have been in there somewhere.
Yeah, it had to have been.
All right,
I don't remember the Oscars anymore. So.
Well, speaking of the Oscars, obviously Lindsay Lohan has to be in that conversation.
Oh my god!
Oh boy!
Just kidding. Falling Into Christmas stars Lindsay Lohan and Cord Overstreet as partially the premise from Overboard, but not. The idea here is that she's an heiress who wants to be an influencer who hits her head while skiing and ends up at a tiny little ski lodge where Cord Overstreet is running the place, and he's got a cute little daughter and a benevolent mom figure, and just all of the lame possible tropes you could throw into one of these movies. Especially the establishing of the start of this movie is just headache inducing. Watching them go through the motions of establishing her as this vacant influencer wannabe who's very, very rich and privileged and a jerk, and it just all right off the bat, I just hated this movie, and it didn't do much after that to win me back. This is all very stock Hallmark stuff that's been seen a billion times before and not particularly improved upon here, as much as I might like to see Lindsay Lohan do well after all that she's been through. What do you think of, Jeff?
Well, okay, how am I gonna? I'm just gonna be sexist and ageist, I guess, but I think that this movie should have starred a 22-year-old instead of a 36-year-old. I don't think this is a movie that does much right. I get the feeling that they're going for, let's do a cheesy Christmas Hallmark movie. This does not hit any note correctly. I thought it was vapid. She's okay. Lindsay Lohan is not a bad actress. However, this is one of those movies that she should stay far away from. She's Lindsay Lohan. She's a tabloid queen. She's a huge draw to people. I get that. But that also takes away from this movie. Again, this is a movie where the lead should be in her early 20s. That's right. An influencer. Her fiance, George Young, Tad, he was 40 years old. I never bought him as an influencer because he needs to be 25. They need to be in their early 20s. And I just don't understand why this plot, like she was dropped into this plot. You know, this should have been, I don't know, some Disney star.
Yeah.
Who's still 20.
Yeah, definitely. It does break the the supposed immersion, if there were any in this movie there. That would certainly break it. Zach, did you watch this one?
Oh yeah. I watched it pretty late last night, and I had to stop drinking beer because I was about to fall asleep. It was it was a movie, man. No, so I've been hearing about this all week. Like, I mean, my girlfriend was pretty excited about it because Lindsay Lohan's back after everything, and for that part, you know, I'm happy that she seemed healthy and with it, and everything seemed like she was having a good time. I wasn't, but someone was having a good time. Like, I laughed my ass off because I went in with knowing absolutely nothing. I knew the plot, or not the plot, the name. I knew the picture, and that was goddamn fucking it. And literally, like 10 minutes in, not even 10 minutes in, I turned and I looked at her, and I'm like, all right, just guessing, because I've seen a lot of Hallmark movies, because I lived with a white woman, my mom, she loves Hallmark. And I'm like, all right, so the name's Falling for Christmas. They're at a ski lodge. She's falling off something, bumping her head, or she's going to fall off something and she's going to discover the meaning of Christmas. And then fucking Santa Claus showed up because some kid wanted her dad to get laid. I don't know what the hell was going on. And like her fiance was throwing off some mad Steve Buscemi, hello, fellow children vibes the entire goddamn movie. The entire movie.
Oh, that felt I think that was the vibe he was going for at the very least, though.
Oh, I hope so. I mean, they tried. And like, I know this movie's going to do well for Netflix. I've seen a lot of buzz on it on Twitter. Like, I've seen so many people talking about it. No one's talked about actually watching it, but everyone was excited to watch it. But I did laugh my ass off when she falls down, gets hurt, wakes up in the hospital. Her face is all like bruised and bashed up. And then literally the next scene, she's perfectly fine. Literally the next scene, she's fine. And my girlfriend's like, yeah, of course. They're not going to make Lindsay Lohan look like that. Come on. But
let's release this woman to this complete stranger who she doesn't know and doesn't know her.
Yeah. This guy that like vaguely recognizes her, he talked to her literally the day before and spilt shit on her. There's no way he didn't forget. If I spilt like hot chocolate on like some like rich heiress's chest, I would remember it the next day. Like, I'm not that stupid. He had a meeting with her father literally the day before.
I thought it was going to be I thought it was going to be overboard. Like he's going to, it's the heiress. I'm going to teach her a lesson about family.
That would have been better.
It would have been better.
Well, that was the thing. My girlfriend thought that's what was going on, and I was like, no. There was like a 2-second bit of dialogue earlier where he mentioned he doesn't even know who she is.
That's what we're saying.
This is a movie that it should have been one of those. She's a big city lawyer who goes back to her hometown, you know, in her 30s, and what am I doing with my life? And then she meets Court Overstreet. And, it's a slightly younger guy. I think he's kind of cute. Maybe it's Christmas magic. And then her, spoiler alert, gay fiance comes in back to the picture, which was totally out of left field and stupidly kind of homophobic.
I didn't even catch that part.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he hooked up with the personal assistant at the end. They were going to go spend New Year's together.
Random.
Yeah, I was
like,
an hour deep on Marvel Snap at that point.
Yeah. He was like not gay, and then he was gay, and he was stereotypically gay throughout the movie, like, I'm an influencer and I'm so perfect and look at me. And yes, do I wish he was, because he's incredibly hot, but he was a vapid character who this is God, I hate this movie. It's like, the first thing, I was distracted by how incredibly gray her teeth were next to that red lipstick in the very first scene that she was in.
Yeah, there's some unfortunate choices in the makeup. Yeah,
I'm like, that's not her. No, stop. And then, oh, my daddy wants me to come back and work for him and be an influencer. No, you're 36 years old. You are a 36-year-old strong woman, and you need to do something different. You are not an heiress. You're not even God forbid Ivanka Trump has her own business. I mean, okay, she's slightly older. She's 40. So maybe in the next 4 years, Lindsay Lohan will, get a bunch of Chinese patents. But I just don't, this was so terribly miscast. I don't mind Hallmark movies. They're fine. My brother-in-law loves them. However, this is the high-powered lawyer who goes back to her hometown. That's who she is. She's not this 20-year-old influencer.
Yeah, that was a weird inclusion, and it definitely it was so completely out of place. Especially I think whoever made this had to be about 60, writing the dialogue that they wrote and the choices that they made in establishing her character early on. Like, they had just the most vapid understanding of Instagram and whatnot, and like that, it would be like me trying to write that. Is basically what I'm saying. If I tried to write this character, she'd turn out exactly like this.
Yeah, I would love to have been the casting director on this, because I would have been like, Lindsay Lohan, what the fuck? No, we're not doing this. We're going to plug her into one of the other 36 Hallmark movies we're doing this year.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, she's got a future in this at the very least. I mean, I think they can do this every year with the same cast and a slightly different story. They probably will.
American Christmas Story.
Oh yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Every
like, Netflix is already pretty much like reality TV dumb.
Well, and Court Overstreet is, quite frankly, as bad an actor as Finn Whitlock. So they could do an American Horror Story type Christmas thing every year, because Court Overstreet is just forgettable and bland.
He is a sentient block of wood, that kid. Block of wood with blonde hair.
Yeah. And a smile bigger than Christmas itself.
And that child, lovely. But I mean, just directed like every Moppet child in one of these movies.
Yeah, this movie is it's not even a movie. It's a oh my God, we've got to do something because we can get Lindsay Lohan really cheap. Let's throw her in a Hallmark movie. Oh, this is not Hallmark material. Let's just throw it on Netflix.
This is this is such cobbled together out of the wrong parts. It's like Overboard meets what is it? The end of the Jimmy Stewart movie, the famous
It's
one.
a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life. Like, just slam those movies together in a blender and like take the pieces that you need and put that in, and then add in a whole bunch of influencer Instagram bullshit.
Yeah. 40-year-old Instagram influencer.
And Santa for some fucking reason.
Oh yeah, that was God.
I'm still trying to figure that whole thing out. Like, I mean, I only hope if I end up being some 40-something widower, I only hope that many people are trying to get me laid ahead. Like, Santa was trying to help him. Like, he just kept popping up, just like winking, and he's just like, oh, like he was just like,
yeah.
Oh, I couldn't stop laughing.
So I unapologetically love Christmas with the Cranks, because it's such a dumb movie and Jamie Lee Curtis is in it. Okay.
Mhm.
But that whole like, is Austin Pendleton Santa or what? That was the same energy.
Oh, I forgot
You know,
about
that was the same energy as this movie. It was like, is this guy Santa or what? Why is he living in this ski town? Why is he selling chestnuts? Shouldn't he be making toys? It just
dedicated to getting Cordova Street laid.
It's like they put plot points in a bingo machine and they just drew them out one by one. Oh, heiress, okay. Hardworking guy who inherited a snow lodge. Okay, great. Instagram influencer. Wait, who do we have as a cast? Yeah. Oh, Santa, magical Santa, and a little girl who wants to get her dad laid. Okay. Put them all out there. Just write these points.
Yeah, this movie's awful. It's but not entirely unwatchable. Like I managed to watch the whole thing while doing many, many other things. I think I wrote a review of something else while it was on. So I didn't find it terribly unpleasant. It's just bad.
Yeah, it's worse than your average Hallmark movie, and that's saying something. It's like, where's Rachel Bilson?
She's way too good for this. Zach, any final thoughts?
I mean, I laughed a lot. I did enjoy watching this, but not for the right reasons. And this was a good hour and a half of Marvel Snap on my phone. Like, that's about it. That's all I can really say. It's what was up with that fucking poacher? What was up with that dude?
Best character in the movie for me.
yeah. And then they're like, oh, we arrested him again for poaching on government land. Then why did you let him build a fucking shack? Like, what was going on? Like, whatever. No,
like,
it is what it is.
What's missing from this movie? Oh, Ted Kaczynski.
Yep.
Let's throw Ted Kaczynski in a Netflix Christmas movie with Lindsay Lohan. Come on.
Oh, it's so dumb.
A bingo ball. Let's put Ted Kaczynski on this bingo plot ball, and oh my god, it came out. I guess we have to throw him in there somewhere. Here's his well-made shack.
Would have made more sense if he was also Santa.
To you right now, there's a Pure Flix movie where that guy is like played by Brian Bosworth, and it's just him and the influencer guy, and see him teaching him about life and Christmas and how to be a better man. But through
it's an ex-gay movie. Pure Flix doing. We're going to teach this guy not to be gay by showing him how to do manly things, and
funded by the Trump administration.
Kevin Sorbo produces it. Brian Bosworth and Scott Baio.
We just wrote that movie.
From the creator of God's Not Dead, Guy's Not Gay.
All right. I watched a movie called Spirited. I was shocked to see that this movie had come out. Apple TV does the worst job of telling anybody that they're releasing a movie with Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell. How do you screw up having a movie, promoting a movie with Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell that's actually pretty good? It's essentially they've taken the Christmas Story thing and they've taken it to a modern age, but they've got a little twist in that now the ghost of Christmas Present is Ebenezer Scrooge, which is Will Ferrell's character. Then he's working with Marley and the other ghosts to try and reform people in the modern age. And it's also a musical, and the music is very on the nose. And obviously Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds aren't great singers, but they pull it off well with so much panache and so much excitement and so much energy that I didn't mind. There's a lot of really good things about this movie other than the marketing, which again, did either of you have any idea this was coming out at all?
No,
so
I'll go for it, Jeff.
This makes a lot more sense. My friend Rabia wrote a book and was on the Today Show this week, and my friend Katie actually took a picture with those two, and I was like, oh, that's weird. I wonder what they're on the Today Show for. No idea this was coming out. This is the first I'm hearing about it because I guess I don't watch enough Apple TV Plus.
Zach, did you hear anything about this?
No. I mean, like I was telling you the other day, that's the only app we don't have. Like, even when we did have it, I forgot that we fucking had it. Like we watched like the midsummer director's cut, and then that was it. Like pretty much. I saw an ad for it on Facebook like 3 days ago, and then you talked about it, and I'm like, "Fuck, is that good?" Because it did look good. Like, no, they're bad about it. I mean, I didn't even know until right now that it was a Christmas Carol story. Like, I was so caught up on the fact that we're getting the full cut of the Muppets Christmas Carol like in like 2 weeks. Like that was my highlight. But no, I'll have to check this out.
Strange, yeah, it's actually pretty good. The gags that they come up with. Will Ferrell hasn't been good in a movie for me in about 12 years, and this is the first time I've actually enjoyed him in that long. He's actually very good in this, and him and Ryan Reynolds are terrific together. They've got great chemistry. The story is incredibly predictable. You know exactly where this is heading. This is not trying to surprise you. It just does. It takes that idea and does the best possible movie with it, even as you know what's going to happen. And making that work the way they do is really impressive. It's just bizarre to me. I can't get past it. This is two out of the last 3 weeks. Apple TV has released one of the best movies going at this moment and have failed to tell anybody about it. Causeway with Jennifer Lawrence and Brian Tyree Henry is one of my favorite movies of the year. They told nobody about it.
Wait a minute. I've never heard of it.
Tell us more.
I don't hate Apple. I'm like, we're doing this and I'm on my iMac. I just don't understand why they're not everywhere. Do they just, I don't get it, because that's not, you would think that they would be promoting this stuff.
I'm so distracted by the fact that they didn't tell anybody they were releasing this movie. I've been waiting for this movie because I knew about it, and I've been kind of anticipating it at some point. I thought they'd do a brief theatrical maybe, and try and drum up interest that way. And then I saw on YouTube one of my fellow critics had done a review of him. Like, is that coming out this week? That can't be this week. They've got a long lead on this. They broke the embargo or something. No, it came out Friday, and nobody knew it. This is like, it's a really good movie, and they told no one about it for some reason. And it's distracting me from just the fact that this is a good movie, and I'm happy to tell people to go see it. But why? Why did they do this? I don't understand.
The only thing you ever hear from Apple is them talking about Ted Lasso. Like, you don't ever actually hear them promote. Like Mythic Quest Season 3 also started this week, and I saw a bunch of people on Reddit talking like, fuck, Mythic Quest just dropped. like they're not promoting. Like, literally, like, I'm on my iPhone right now. Like, they can barge into my privacy and tell me this stuff's coming out, and I'll be like, oh, okay, cool. I don't care. They need to promote. Like, I don't know what's going on in that app.
They're feeling empowered.
It's just a mystery to me.
They feel empowered by the fact that they picked up the Best Picture winner last year, which is now escaping me. Really wonderful film about a deaf family. Won multiple Academy Awards, and I can't remember the title now. They had that movie back in March of last year, dropped it in June, and told nobody. And then it came around, and thankfully it was so good that it was, still around when the Oscars came up, that it became a phenomenon. And I think they've just been empowered by the fact that, hey, I think we can just do that. We can just drop things out there, and eventually people will find them, and we don't need to spend any money on ad campaigns or telling anybody about it.
Yeah, Coda is the movie, by the way.
Thank you.
I don't understand. I don't know what their strategy is. Again, I've never heard that Jennifer Lawrence had a new movie coming out. You would think one of the biggest movie stars in the world would be everywhere.
Especially in a very good movie.
I'm like, I forget about Apple TV Plus so much that I was like, what is Apple charging me $6 a month for? Okay, great. Let me cancel that, because I don't, they never have anything, and if they do, they don't talk about it. So I guess I have to find a way to watch this.
Yeah, I recommend Spirited, and especially Causeway. Causeway is like one of the best movies of the year, honestly. That good, that level of good movie, and just told nobody about it. Netflix is kind of getting that way, because I totally I totally missed out on the fact that they released Enola Holmes 2 weeks ago. I was totally surprised by that. And I liked the first Enola.
About 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, it's been out for 2 weeks now. Like Netflix is trying to kind of do the same thing as Apple, apparently, just kind of dropping things at random. I really like the original Enola Holmes. This is Millie Bobby Brown as the star, with Henry Cavill in the background as Sherlock Holmes. She's his little sister. She's investigating her own things. She's becoming her own detective, and I just love Millie Bobby Brown. What I would get annoyed by, she actually makes work. Things like turning to the camera and that narration
the fourth
they
wall.
do. In a lot of other movies, I would be irritated about that, but she is so charming that I was perfectly all right with it. And I just love this evolution of Henry Cavill, because Henry Cavill began his career as an actor I thought I was going to dread for the rest of my life.
In the Hellraiser sequel?
I mean, I saw him in a movie with Bruce Willis, pre-aphasia Bruce Willis years ago. He was still in his autopilot phase and kind of sending things directly to DVD. But Henry Cavill he delivered one of the worst performances I've seen by an actor in that movie. And then Superman came out, and I was like, he's fine. He's the least interesting element of a Superman movie. He is Superman, but he made it. He was serviceable. And he just kept getting a little bit better, and a little bit better. And now he's just so come into himself that I really look forward to seeing him now, which is very surprising to me, and a trick that Gerard Butler completely failed to pull off. He's gone the complete opposite direction.
Well, Henry Cavill picks interesting things. This was interesting. When you said we were going to do this, and I said, okay, great. I'd never seen the first Enola Holmes. And I watched it the other night, and I was like, "Oh, I really like Millie Bobby Brown. I think she's great. I think she's funny, and she's going to be a really great actor someday." Henry Cavill, I had no idea he was in that movie. I was just like, "Oh, holy shit, that's Henry Cavill." He makes interesting choices now. The Superman movie, the fact that he's coming back as Superman, apparently, It's like, oh, okay. DC has no idea what the fuck they're doing. No. But okay, Henry Cavill is serviceable as Superman. But I thought he was really good in the first one. The second one, he was fine. In this new one, he was fine, but he didn't have, all he had to do was figure out that, oh, this is all Moriarty, his nemesis. But that's all he really had to do through this whole movie.
That's kind of my favorite part of Enola Holmes, though, is that in both films, like Sherlock is actually making a Sherlock movie. Like Henry Cavill feels like he's being Sherlock Holmes while he's not on screen. Whereas Enola Holmes we're focused on her mystery and what she's trying to solve. It's almost as if he's actually making a Sherlock movie. We're just not seeing it. I kind of love that about this.
Yeah.
Zach, what do you think?
I'm in the same boat. I didn't watch the first Enola Holmes. I kind of wish I did when it came out, because I watched both of them yesterday, and I had a fucking blast. Millie Bobby Brown, I was the same reaction when she first started turning to the camera. I'm like, fucking great. Here we go. We're doing this. They started it off with the weird picture placement cutaways and stuff, and I'm like, oh, son of a bitch, we're doing the teenage thing again. God damn it, they got me. But they won me over, man. Henry Cavill, that is one thing I did love, how his Sherlock was in the background, solving the whole case, and by the time already fucking done. It's not about him. The second one, just as fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It kept my attention. I didn't touch my phone once, which is hard for me. But I also kind of Henry Cavill broke my heart this year, so I was unsure on whether or not I'd be able to withstand him. He's leaving The Witcher, and he's sticking us with Liam fucking Hemsworth just so he can go play Superman with James Gunn. I get it. I'm excited with him and James Gunn partnering up doing a Superman thing. I don't care. That's cool. But do we have to screw up The Witcher? God damn it. We were promised 7 seasons of Henry Cavill Witcher shit. Because him as Geralt of Rivia was literally the perfect casting. That hurt. I thought Netflix would kill it before he did, and now Hemsworth, Liam fucking Hemsworth, man, that was a bummer.
Are you not a fan of Liam Hemsworth?
But back to no, not at all, man, not at all. Like I'd rather like fucking you gonna throw him, it's him or fucking Scott Eastwood in a movie. I'm out, man.
To me, the most interesting
those
thing
guys
that
are
Liam
only there
Hemsworth
because
has
their
ever
relatives
done
are famous.
is Miley Cyrus.
Yeah.
Yes, I forgot about that. But no.
So did she.
But no, Enola Holmes too it was a blast. It was a lot of fun. I like that these movies both had a lot of like twists and turns that I wasn't quite expecting. Like the mom character actually being like kind of pretty heavily involved in the second movie, and like how she was kind of like a kind-hearted domestic terrorist and stuff like that. Like it was a lot of fun. I couldn't recommend this high enough. Like it was a good movie.
They used Helena Bonham Carter in exactly the right amount in both movies. She tends to take over when she's in a movie to me. Fight Club, she delivered the absolute 100% best line in that movie that I'm not going to say here because it's so dirty. I think we all know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
She's anything she's in, she just kind of, Bellatrix Lestrange in the Harry Potter movies, she's just completely steals focus every time. Mm-hmm. And I think that this was just the perfect amount of Helena Bonham Carter.
Absolutely. And she just seems to be having so much fun doing what she's doing. And the way that they utilize her is so clever. Those cutaways to Enola as a child and kind of underlining why she's able to do what she does it's really smart. It's a really great way to underline this character and invest in her and allow us to invest in her further. Really great to provide her. I love the first movie just for the way that they layer in her backstory so very, very well. It's totally believable that Enola was trained all her life to be who she is, and you would definitely buy that her mom did everything that she did, and bringing her back this time and using her the way they do, I thought was just wonderful.
Yeah, I agree. I loved everybody in this cast, and I'm not the target demographic for this movie. I'm just not. Mm-hmm. But I enjoyed this so much more than I enjoyed Lindsay Lohan's movie, and I'm a 50-year-old gay man. I should love Lindsay Lohan. Oh my God. But I was like, oh, this, because I watched Stranger Things. It's fine. I love it, parts of it. But I never really got anything from Millie Bobby Brown in that until last season, where she never popped off the screen for me because it was such an ensemble. And I mean, let's face it, Winona Ryder's in it. Mm-hmm. And I am a 50-year-old gay man. But I'm at the point now where Millie Bobby Brown is like, oh, I want to see her in more. They talked about recasting Princess Leia in Star Wars with her. And I was like, what? And now I'm like, oh, okay. If they did a Disney Plus series where it was like the adventures of young Princess Leia,
mm-hmm. I'm cool with that. I would
get on board with that.
I can see it.
I just like the being told to us by Lieutenant Connix, Billy Lord. Oh, my mom told me these stories, oh, Leia told me these stories of when she was young. And then, the framing device of that, I would just like, oh, but
good idea.
She jumped off the screen every time she was on. I actually bought the chemistry between her and Tewksbury, because it was natural. It wasn't forced like Lindsay Lohan and
I thought he was a little bit off for me, but she makes him better, and he seems to come alive in front of her very well.
Yeah. I did like to see David Thewlis playing a little bit against type, because normally he's the kind one, and watching him be basically the villain was great.
Yeah, that was he was scary. He was kind of scary at times. I love that they gave him a lot to do, and they gave him a lot of he got to keep up as well as the character could. I was really impressed with the chase scene, especially. I didn't think that was gonna. I thought they were just gonna cut away as soon as they got away, and then they kept that scene going and created an even better action scene out of that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I do think it's funny. Oh, go for it.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say I do think it's funny that like in both movies, like Enola like brutally murders someone, like brutally murders someone, and they just like, it's fine. She's cool. She's a badass, and then they just move on.
I do think they could have cut about 10 minutes out of the second one.
Mm-hmm.
This one, I think, just a little tighter.
Yeah,
a couple edits here and there. Other than that, I really enjoyed it.
It should be. Yeah, movies like this probably shouldn't be over 2 hours long. But
yeah,
I didn't feel the 2 hours, so I'm not too bad. I'm not too bad about that one. I didn't feel that one.
I think a little shorter is good for almost any movie. You know, it's like the what did Coco Chanel say? Before you leave the house, take off one accessory. That's kind of how I feel about movies. You know, before you put it out in the theaters, see if you can cut 10 minutes out of it. Unless it's like The Strangers Pray at Night, where even with the credits, it was only an hour and 28 minutes. But that movie was actually good. And like the second time I watched it, I enjoyed it. So
I did not, but that's me.
Well, we have differences of opinions on horror movies, but
true.
I enjoyed it for what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Where I think this
both Strangers movies are badass.
this movie could have been about 10 minutes shorter, and I think it would have gotten the same point across. Even Wakanda Forever, I think that could have been 10 minutes shorter.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I think they could have cut. Yeah, like 20, 30 minutes. Like there was a lot of extra stuff. That was cool. Nice world building, but like save it for Disney Plus.
And Falling for Christmas, they could have cut out an hour and a half of that movie and it would have been perfect.
The entire movie, yes. A music video with her in Court Overstreet, and there you're done.
You know what? That's fine. That's fine. They can both sing.
Oh, yeah.
Just do a song called "Falling for Christmas," telling a little bit of a story, and it would have been fine. Would have been a great
God,
video.
I don't think I could have lasted 3 minutes for that or whatever the fuck. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
I would have rather had that than an hour and a half of, oh my God, I'm an heiress and I totally don't get it. Let me make up the beds and help out the staff. I'm a better person because I made a bed. Yay. Or Lindsay Lohan's face, I'm a better person because I made a bed for somebody.
Where are the other drugs going?
Don't smoke.
Don't smoke. All right. Excuse me. I don't smoke. Let's move on.
Neither do I.
Years ago, the movie Casablanca was released, and it is incredible to me that a movie can be released 80 years ago to zero expectations from its director and still be today one of the greatest movies ever made. This is, of course, a classic story about lost love, about World War II, about the sacrifices that one makes to do the bigger, better thing. Humphrey Bogart, of course, stars as Rick. He's the owner of Rick's Cafe. It's this place that is in Casablanca where everybody goes, where gambling is not taking place at any time. It's just an absolutely ingenious plot where he ends up reconnecting with Ingrid Bergman, his former love, who is married to this man that she thought was dead, but now turns out to not be dead, played by Paul Henreid, who happens to be a leader of the resistance against the Germans. Really just incredible film. And the thing about it is that director Michael Curtiz at the time just thought he was making another programmer. He just thought, this is just another assignment. I'll dash this off and I'll go on to the next movie I'm going to make of the 52 that I'm going to make in 1942, which he made 20 some odd movies in 1942 to 1943. He didn't participate in the post-production on this movie at all. Just as soon as he was done, he walked away. And that he managed to create one of the all-time lasting classics is just, to me, a testament to his amazing talent, but also just a testament to how great this story is, and the amazing chemistry between Humphrey Bogart, Ingrid Bergman just gets me every time when they start talking about Paris, and then they go into the flashback, and it gets me just emotional, and I feel the romance and the excitement of it every time, and then that ending is just too perfect. Jeff, what do you think of Casablanca?
I was going to try to rewatch it. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember watching it as a kid because my friend's dad loved it, and they had just gotten a VCR, and let's watch this movie. And I was, I think, maybe 13, and I was just, oh my God, why am I watching a black and white movie? And over the years, it's gained such a reputation for being like one of the best movies ever made, that I was like, I don't know. It's no Friday the 13th Part 3. But sorry, Sean. Okay, the final chapter. Anyway, no, I just it's one of those movies that it's kind of like required reading or required watching, and then it just sucks you in. It's like when you get homework that you have to do, but when it's a subject you're interested in.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many little classic moments of it, like, you must remember this as time goes by, that it's always going to be iconic.
Mm-hmm.
So, like Millie Bobby Brown.
Zach, what are your memories of Casablanca? I know it's been a while since you've seen it.
Oh God, I remember actually being into it because I watched this. Man, I was taking a film and lit class. I've mentioned it on this podcast a few times. We had to watch like Citizen Kane, and I fucking hated it, and I still stand on that hill, and I'm gonna die on that hill. And then they were like, after that, they're like, all right, we're gonna watch Casablanca, and I'm like, fucking Christ, here we go again, another one. Actually enjoyed the hell out of it. I don't remember a whole lot. I haven't revisited it. I've seen like chunks because we were playing it at the theater for a little while when I was there. It was like one of the classics they were doing, and I remember I popped in and watched about 20 minutes of it, and it's one I've been meaning to. I was actually thinking about going back to it this week. I was trying to decide if I wanted to spend money on that, if I wanted to spend money on the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie that came out this week, and I decided to do neither. So it's something I do want to go back to because I also, speaking of the Citizen Kane thing, I do want to too because I need to see if I actually like it now. Almost 30-year-old man getting old. I liked it. I remember the ending was just. I don't remember a whole lot about Casablanca.
It's such a perfect movie. I mean, just every beat from when Peter Lorre is introduced and the papers of transit get introduced, and just all the side characters are just so colorful. But they never pull focus because Bogart is such a strong center to the whole thing. So you've got all this color around him, and then the contrast between Bogart and Paul Henreid, where Paul Henreid is very handsome, but also very reserved and not particularly charismatic. You can sense why he's a valiant leader, but you can also sense why women would be drawn to Rick, and kind of secretly you sort of root for Rick as that sort of that rebellious character. You kind of want him to take the girl because it just seems like she and him belong together, but also that he knows what's best in that moment for the revolution, for what's going to be best for the entire world at this point. That he sacrifices himself in that way is so lovely. That it doesn't seem like a type of a character trait that this character would have, and that he does, just shows that's his arc, that's his growth. And again, I keep going back to Curtiz and the way he treated this, like he didn't care about it while he was making it. He got thrown into it in a way when it came down with think it was Ronald Reagan and Jane Wyman initially that were going to star in it. And obviously, go into that with a dude, but then he gets Bogart and Bergman, and I don't know if he knew exactly what he had with it when he did it, but it certainly turned out something that is just unbelievable. I watched it twice this week because I got the 80th edition 4K Blu-ray edition because I had to, because it's one of my all-time favorite films. And I watched it, and I watched it with Roger Ebert's commentary again because I haven't heard Roger's voice in so many years. And it's so incredible. The whole set is just amazing with all these various documentaries, and of course Lauren Bacall's involvement in when she was introducing it and talking about Bogart and his approach to acting. It's incredible, and I wish everybody would get their hands on this. It's such an amazing thing to have, and there aren't many movies that have lasted 80 years. There are some, but there aren't that many, especially that don't feel like, well, like you said, like it doesn't feel like homework watching Casablanca. It feels like a movie that could exist in any time. And imagine it was so timely when it came out, even though it was not necessarily well thought of when it came out. It won people over. It came back around again. It's got a wonderful story in that way. There's just so much history and life and romance to it. I get sucked up into it every time.
Yeah, I was fully planning on watching it again for this recording, but it's one of those ones that even though like, oh, we're talking about it and then we're gonna, I'll forget about it for a while. I actually pulled it out of the case so that I can rewatch it even after talking about it again. So it's been a long time.
Any final thoughts?
We'll always have Paris. We'll always have Lindsay Lohan Ski Lodge.
Oh, it's not going anywhere.
Unfortunately.
The most memorable thing you're taking away from this week's show is how bad that movie is.
Well,
yeah, it's a trip.
Down a mountain.
Yeah, backwards. Sean, have you watched any of Andor yet?
No, I have not. But if you two want to go crazy nerd on it, go right ahead. We got a little time, and we don't have Flick Chart this week.
Oh, bro!
Why don't we make that the post show? You two guys
go
on Andor.
Andor, I was telling people like for the last like 6 months or so leading into it, I'm like, I have a feeling Andor is going to be dope. It's a dual story about.
About
known Carrot Mothma, who was kind of like our queen. Well, it's like they're like gonna did I cut out at all there?
Yeah, we missed that whole thing.
My Wi-Fi is acting a little wonky right now. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. So I kept
Jesus Christ, don't spoil it. I haven't been to that
like, oh, we're gonna Oh, hey, Jesus Cristo. No, so I was kind of hyping it up for people. Like I'm like, yeah, I know it's a story about this like random character from Rogue One and all that, but like on the other end, like we have like our queen, our lovely Mon Mothma. And I'm like, we're gonna get this like badass story about the rebellion. And then like no one was excited about it. And god damn it, dude, this show is like the sleeper hit of the year. The show is so good. Like the acting's amazing. Andy Serkis popped up randomly, and that dude can act like a son of a bitch, man. Like I'm sure Jeff can back me up on this. Like,
so for me, Andor is a very slow burn, and I've been moving and like trying to get settled and stuff, so I haven't really been able to sit down and watch it. I will occasionally, I'll watch it on my iPad a little bit at a time, and it's one of those shows where I'm like, okay, I have to really sit down and I have to like binge watch this first season because there's so much going on under the radar. Mm-hmm. So far, my favorite story is Mon Mothma, and I don't know, I know that it's partially because it's a legacy character from the original trilogy and the prequel series that she was never actually in, but I watched all those deleted scenes thinking, oh, this is what I want. I want the political intrigue. And then we get it in this show. And, the petty squabbles and stuff that she has with her husband and her daughter, trying to like balance it all while still trying to build this rebellion. Um, I, it is a slow burn. That's what I tell people. They're like, "Oh, do you like Andor?" Yes, but you really have to pay attention and you
Oh
really
yeah.
have to let it fester a little bit because it's not it's not full action all the time. It's not Obi-Wan Kenobi rushing around, trying to save the princess. It's much slower and it tells everybody says, "Oh, I just want a work a day kind of story in the Star Wars universe." Well, this tells that story. This tells, about a guy
Mhm.
who is not really anybody and then he becomes somebody. And this is how we get there. So, and it's a little bit of, does somebody decide one day that, oh, I'm going to be a rebel? No, a bunch of shit happens to make them hit that point, and that's where Andor is in this series.
Yeah, it's like the way I keep explaining it to people who haven't seen it is like, so the Mandalorian, Obi-Wan, all that stuff, that's like a Western, or Obi-Wan got a little like samurai there for a little bit, but those are like the action packed stuff. This is Game of Thrones. Like this is the one where it's like you actually like have to pay attention, because especially like there's a lot of stuff with like the Imperial Security Bureau, the ISB, and like they're including all of them, and like there's like this whole like back and forth with all these officers that I know like for a lot of the God, I hate using this term, but a lot of like the casuals, like the casual fans, probably it's going to go over their heads because there is a lot of dense like stuff that's been lore for years for us like Star Wars dorks. Like we know a lot of the background stuff, but now like actually getting like characters and like seeing what Mon Mothma has to do like with the Senate and like have her like sneaking around trying to like build up her rebellion and shit like that. Like I I I can't imagine like there's some friends of mine that I've told that haven't started yet. I've told them straight up like I don't know if you should binge this one. Maybe do like one or two episodes at a time and pace it out because it's not action packed. There's like this last episode was pretty action heavy, but it's very much a spy thriller about just normal people doing this whole rebellion thing. And I have wanted this for so long. Like Rogue One, I still hold as this one's hard. Like I can't tell between that and Empire which one's my favorite, but Rogue One is like so goddamn high up there for me. And this whole Andor thing has just been amazing. I'm glad we're getting a guaranteed 2 seasons because they filmed all 24 episodes together. Like I'm glad like people are complaining that it's slow, but fuck it, we're still getting it anyway. I don't care. It can't get canceled because it's already done. Like,
Well, the
oh,
thing
oh,
for
it's
me,
so much fun.
like Star Wars TV, is there's so much for everybody.
Mhm.
And the people who are like, well, I hate this because it doesn't do this and it doesn't do that, and it's so this one's too slow. This one doesn't, isn't the same character that I love from the movies. This one is, the best thing that ever happened to Star Wars. And everybody is different, and everybody has different interests. And one of the things I liked about the prequels was this political intrigue and the behind the
Mhm.
scenes story that you knew was going on. But now you see that, and you see how mundane and how fascism really is just a bunch of people trying to outmaneuver each other behind the scenes. But it's still, the people that participate in fascism are still the people that are in endless cubicles across the world, across the universe. And the fact that they are telling that story to show people how kind of mundane it can be. It's not all, pew pew. There's a lot of, oh God, I'm stuck at this desk and my mom is, yelling at me and I'm just so
That subplot's
frustrated.
so much fun.
Yeah. I'm so frustrated by my life. And so what am I going to do? I'm going to be even worse. And I love the fact that his mother is played by the lady who played Mrs. Fig in the Harry Potter movies. Because in the those movies, she's just like this. Oh, I'm very sorry, but I'm going to. And now she's just like nagging, harping voice that tells him he's not good enough, and it's just so like,
it's a,
yeah.
Like they spent like half an episode with her just being like, "Oh, you lost your job. Your uncle's real popular over here. Your uncle's doing really well." Like that whole thing was so much fun to watch, and
Yeah.
it felt so weird being in like a Star Wars. This is fucking Star Wars. This is like a Disney. Like what Disney's arguably like their biggest property, and we're getting like this whole subplot where this dude's just getting nagged by his mom, and I'm like, holy shit, I feel that.
Would I want to see this in a movie? I would want to see one scene of it in a movie, kind of setting up who the character is. Would I want to see an entire movie about it? No, but I would love to see an episode about it. Or a good portion of an episode over a longer story because it fleshes everybody out. I like The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian season 2. It's getting a little cameo heavy, and
Filoni's getting crazy.
I'm a little like, okay, Dave, let's pump the brakes on. You get your own Ahsoka series. We don't have to have Ahsoka in every episode of The Mandalorian. Same with Book of Boba Fett. I liked that. I thought that was an interesting take on a character who wasn't a character. He was an action figure. He was not, he was that blank slate that everybody put themselves on. So they were like, oh, this is going to be the greatest thing. Because in their head canon, he was this huge badass who, he was just going to bring them in cold but he was a little more complex and people didn't like that. And I think the same people who did not like the complexity that they gave Boba Fett are the same people who are bitching about how complex and slow Andor is. And to those people, I just want to say, fuck you.
Thank you. I've had to listen to so many people bitch about Boba Fett. Thank you so goddamn much. I was like, oh my god, I love it. I know, I get it. I understand. Like, I too wanted to see Boba Fett doing crazy shit, but like, I also really like the whole fact that he's just like a broken down dude. Yeah.
What the fuck?
It's like we got to see that.
What else do you want? He's riding a Rancor, for God's sake,
dude. So, I'll take a couple episodes of slow build just so we can get him riding a Rancor and goddamn motherfucking Luke Skywalker training a Jedi on Yavin, dude. Like, fuck.
Like, my only problem with that, that should have been the first episode of season 3 of The Mandalorian, not the Book of Boba Fett.
I agree.
They didn't have enough build up to the Boba Fett finale to do that. They had to have, I think that was my only issue, was it just has to, they relied too much on the cameos of Luke Skywalker and Ahsoka and in that episode. Plus I want a season without Grogu because, okay, he's fine.
Somewhere, our good friend Josh Adams is crying listening to this and just really, really enjoying himself, crying happy tears because he's never heard this much Star Wars talk on the show.
We got this for you, bud. I'm watching Tales of the Jedi later today. I've been putting that off for a couple weeks. So
and it's going to take you like a half an hour.
Oh, trust me, we've been busy.
I think we need to do a Patreon episode where
short that came out.
We all talk about Star Wars and Bob just sits there stewing the whole time.
Oh my god. Can we just do like the Star Wars Kenny Omega Power Hour?
Fine by me.
We can discuss all about CM Punk and All Out and all that fun shit.
All right, we'll get Josh back for that one too. You guys, I don't know if you read the books because you'll need to read books to be.
Oh shit, homie! We're bringing in the books. This is gonna be a fucking long.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it. Zach,
anytime.
Jeff, of course, tell people about your art. Tell people where they can get your art.
You can go to, there's links to everything, my TeePublic and my Etsy shop at jefflassiter.com. I'll link it on the page. Trying to ramp up for Christmas right now. I got a print sale going on. You can buy your book of Boba Fett and the Mandalorian print. I'll post that on the page so everybody knows what I'm talking about. You can get that. I'm not going to do any artwork for Lindsay Lohan because maybe Mean Girls, but not this, not Falling for Christmas. I'm sorry to all you fangirls and boys out there.
Maybe you could do one for me where you take Rick's Cafe and you put it somewhere in the Star Wars universe.
There you go. Well, you know that the TV show that George Lucas was developing and they'd written scripts for and they'd done some test footage for was about the underworld of Coruscant.
Yeah.
And they are talking now, apparently, about kind of resurrecting that idea. So there's always room for Rick's Cafe.
Absolutely.
I'm down.
There was Madame Garza, her cantina, rest in peace. Did a whole Jennifer Beals piece, and then she goes and gets herself blown up. Thanks a lot. But Max Rebo made it out okay. That's all I care about.
Zach, anything you want to add?
Yeah, little elf boy. Man. I mean, it's always been great talking to you guys. Like, I'm always down to come back, and yeah, definitely, Jeff, hit me with one of them links. So I definitely want to check out that 6/6 Star Wars art.
I will do that.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, no problem. See you, boys.